Hey guys, what is going on? It is Brooke, or the Undead DM, back at it again with another episode of Homebrew Review. And this time, I actually am bringing to you a subclass provided to me by a member of the Pack Tactics Discord server. Shout out to Domingo for sending me this that he helped create. And it is a subclass for the Cleric known as the Plague Domain. Obviously, this is meant to be somewhat of a subclass meant to be about disease, famine, and the like. So without further ado, let's get started. So there's no flavor text, as this was just made on a Word, on a notepad. So let's get started here. So Ray of Sickness and Detect Poison and Disease. Generally, Ray of Sickness isn't that useful of a spell, but you're getting it at lower levels and it's always prepared. You'd always want to prepare something over Ray of Sickness and Detect Poison and Disease due to how limiting they are. But since you always have them prepared as per the Cleric subclass spell list rules, it's not that bad to have. You always have them at hand in case, and you don't actually use any of your prepared spell slots for them, which is good. Blindness and Deafness / Ray of Enfeeblement. Again, usually situational spells, but since they're always prepared for you, you always have them. So not bad. Definitely would have swapped them out for other things. Can't really think of all of the spells off the top of my head. But maybe I don't know. I'll have to look at it a little bit later. But this level, fifth level right here, where you get Stinking Cloud and Slow. Stinking Cloud is an alright spell, but Slow is where it gets big, because Slow is a really good control spell. It reduces all creatures' movement speed by half. They can only make one attack a turn. They can only take an action or a bonus action on their turn. They have a -2 to AC. They have disadvantage on all dex-based saving throws and checks, I believe. And if they want to cast a spell, they have to concentrate on it for a turn before even casting it, and even then they have to make a check for it as if they were concentrating on it, and if they fail, the spell just doesn't happen. It's really, really good. Blight and Sickening Radiance, once again, alright spells. They're always prepared, so it's nothing to complain about. And once again, Contagion and Cloud Kill. Cloud Kill is more useful than Stinking Cloud, because it can kill people. But Contagion is alright if the person isn't immune to poison. The first ability that you get here is Bonus Cantrip, where you get the Infestation Cantrip for free. It's a free cantrip. Nothing much I can complain about. Putrid Health. Now, this is where it gets into the territory of situational and generally needs more thought put into it. So, starting from level 1, your deity has blessed you with the plague. Thus, you're immune to the effects of diseases. Okay, so you're just immune to disease. That means you essentially get the Sacred Health from Paladin 2 levels earlier. However, this has taken a toll on your physique. When you take this subclass, you lose 1 point from your maximum constitution stat, and you lose an additional point at 2nd, 6th, 8th, and 17th level, meaning you lose in total 5 points of constitution. That's a -2 to your con. So it's overall not a good thing for a spellcaster. Lowering your constitution stat for any reason isn't a good thing, because it directly affects your vitality. And on top of that, for a spellcaster especially, it is directly proportional to your constitution saving throws to maintain concentration on spells. If you are playing a cleric and you're trying to concentrate on a spell like Slow, the spell that you get at 5th level, it's a lot harder to do that when you have a -2. And it's generally seen as a better idea in the optimization community to really hone in on the feats you want to take early on to cement your build instead of upping your stats. Because a +1 to a lot of things like your strength or dex for weapon damage isn't seen as much of a benefit besides, to hit and to damage. But you could always get the to hit bonus from the magic weapon, or you can get the damage from things like Great Weapon Master or Sharpshooter. So it's always seen as better to get feats. And in this case, it doesn't allow you to do that. Because in order to offset the constitution lowering, you have to increase your con. But that means your maximum health is always fluctuating. Because if your con lowers, since you start at level 1, you automatically lose 1 point. And that means if you have if you have like a 14 in con and you take this subclass, you automatically drop it to a 13, meaning now you only have a +1 to con, and now you have to do your level 1 health all over again. And for the rest of the game, you're going to have to keep that in mind. And if it drops below that, you start losing health, which is not good. You start getting less and less health. So overall, I think that this needs to be changed to where you are immune to the effects of poison and disease, and any effect that would inflict poison or disease overcomes resistance to the poison condition and poison damage, as well as immunity to diseases. Because it says you have been blessed with the plague, meaning that you are the walking embodiment of the plague, similar to the plague doctor, where somewhat of a mere touch can kill you. Yes, I am representing, not representing, but referencing SCP-049. But let's continue. So, the Bless of the Plague. This is an area of effect fear, essentially. So, as an action, you could create a 15-foot area around you. Doesn't say cube, cylinder, sphere, anything. It's just a 15-foot area. So, I would assume cube, but it's better to specify. And it lasts for a minute, and each creature that starts its turn within that area has to make a con save, or else become poisoned essentially, because it states that they get a disease that will make them have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks, which is essentially just the poison condition. And the standard, they can end the effect on themselves by making a saving throw at the end of their turns, and yada yada yada. And you can also choose, when you use this ability, a number of creatures equal to your wisdom modifier to become immune to this effect. So it's a neat effect, but once again, without the overcoming poison immunity of creatures, which, in case my viewers don't know, poison damage and the poison condition as well as disease are the most resisted damage types and conditions in the entire game. Almost 100% of all creatures are immune to poison and disease, or at least resistant to them. Every creature in the game has at least either resistance or immunity to poison, poison damage, and disease. So not overcoming that essentially means that for the first 2 levels, or until you get your second use of Channel Divinity, you are never going to use this. Because the likelihood that the person's just going to be completely immune to poison is very, very high. Yes, this is a lower level ability, so things like goblins and other smaller creatures like that won't have immunity to poison or disease. But the fact that it's only going to be useful in those lower level encounters and basically never used again when every other cleric has a channel divinity that can be used in a more broad spectrum is kind of sad. Next up is the channel divinity, which is very strange to come in at 6th level. The walking carry-on, where you, as an action, can present your holy symbol, and you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to 5 times your cleric level. And they last for a minute or until dispelled, basically. Again, it's fine, but level 6, it's an action, and it gives you it basically gives you the Paladin's Lay on Hands health pool in temporary hit points, which at maximum level is 100, which isn't a bad thing, but it's an action, and they last for a minute, and it takes your channel divinity. It's not bad, but it would be a lot better if it worked as a bonus action similar to Second Wind, because temporary hit points are meant as a buffer to your health. Things like Aid are really good because they buffer your health. And even Inspiring Leader, the feat, is considered decent because it gives you temporary hit points that last until they go away or until your next short or long rest. So, I don't know. This one is just not good. On the flip side, it is decent at buffing your HP, but it's not good in the sense of action economy. Because that's your entire action that you're losing out on, meaning you cannot get your spells off, like slow. If this was a bonus action, you can buffer your health and then cast slow, which makes it a lot easier for you. But again, with putrid health, taking away your constitution, it's not really going to make it a lot easier. Because yes, you can take Warcaster, and it's almost certainly recommended that you take Warcaster on any spellcaster. But the fact that you have to take that feat to supplement or to negate the effects of your class ability, or at least minimize them, is not a good way to make your class work. The class and the feat should work together. The feat or the class should not overcome the weaknesses of the other. At least in my opinion. If a feat is used as part of your build to overcome something wrong with this class, as opposed to enhancing the class, there's a problem there. That means there's a fundamental issue with the class itself and not the feat. That's why people consider the lucky feat completely broken, because it's essentially 3 free advantages every day. Yes, but when you think about it, advantage is only an 87% chance as opposed to the 65. Is that high? Sure, but you can only use one. Gotta remember that. It's only one. You can only use it on that roll, and you can use it on your enemies. Sure, that's annoying for the DM, but Silvery Barbs exists. Counterspell exists. And that's, as far as I'm aware, way more annoying for average DMs than anything else. Potent spellcasting, pretty standard here. At level 8, you add your Wisdom modifier to the damage with any Cleric cantrip. Again, with Infestation, it's fine. Not gonna complain. Where I am gonna complain the most here is Destiny of the Flesh. At 17th level, lots of flavor text here. I do like all the flavor text here, but to get to this point, the entire ability is just this. The rest of that is just fluff. Get to the point a little bit quicker. I do like the thrill of writing, but get to the point a little bit quicker. You ignore the immunity to poison and disease in your features and spells. This comes in way too late. If Destiny of Flesh was like at level 6, it may still not be that good, but 17 is far too late. Far too late. This needs to be bumped down levels. This needs to be at like a 6th level, if not a second level ability. This needs to be a passive 2nd level ability. Because you already have your Bless of the Plague, and you already have another one that you have a cantrip that does poison damage. A lot of your spells do poison damage, and or give the poison condition, or give a disease of some kind, or give you the option to get a disease. So having to wait 17 levels to make your subclass even work is incredibly frustrating as a player. Imagine for a moment that you're playing a fighter and you have to wait until level 17 to get a single use of action surge. It's not going to be fun. And imagine at that point you already have 2 attacks and that's it. It's not a fun time. Remember, 95% of creatures in this game have either resistance or immunity to poison, disease, and the poisoned condition. So the fact that you have to wait till 17th level to get this, when every other class is basically already popped off at this point, is just sad. So yes, I think that this 17th level ability needs to be changed. What I would recommend for this is to keep the spells as they are. They're not perfect, but you know, not every spell list is going to be perfect to fit the theme. Cantrip's fine. Change Putrid Health to give you Destiny of Flesh's ability. This way you can use all of your abilities with without any sort of trouble. Bless of the Plague, I think it's fine. Just leave it as is. Just change the wording around a little bit to give them the poisoned condition instead of the disease that gives them the effects of the poison condition. It would just make much more sense. Make Walking Carrion a bonus action to use, and then make Destiny of Flesh something entirely unique. One thing off the top of my head, a creature under the effects of the poison condition can no longer make saves against the poison condition at the start of each of their turns. They take a certain amount of poison damage, or anyone who has a disease also takes poison damage if they have the poisoned or disease, something like that. Something interesting, because right now it's just for 16 levels, I cast Bless of Plague. Then the DM goes, oh, well, every one of them is immune to disease and poison. And it's like, okay, cool, I just wasted my action doing nothing. And then finally, when you get to 17th level, yay! I overcome all that. I activate my action to do this. Well, it's a save, right? Well, now the dragon has a plus 17 to con, and he rolled a 13, so that's a 30. Does that succeed? Like, yeah, no duh, DM, it's gonna succeed. So make this a lower level feature, possibly to replace this last portion of Putrid Health, and then make Destiny of Flesh. Make it so that gradually they take poison damage if they're affected with a poison or disease. Make it so that their stats begin to lower. So at the start of each of their turns, their constitution, strength, and dexterity begin to lower by 2. And if they get below like 7, they just fall unconscious. Something that would actually make it feel like the enemy is rotting to death. Just something more interesting than you can finally use your subclass. A very subpar subclass in terms of power, but a fun subclass for the flavor nonetheless. You still have access to the generic cleric stuff, but this would mostly be played for the flavor rather than the power. Anyway, that is all I have for you today on this episode of Homebrew Review on the Plague Domain Cleric. I hope to see you all in the next episode of Homebrew Review, where I will be reviewing some homebrew made by Benjamin Huffman, the renowned homebrewer on DM's Guild, as well as he made the Pugilist class, which is probably going to be the one I'm going to be reviewing. So anyway, guys, I hope to see you all next time. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Latest.